we're back. Joe is finally back. I am not solo anymore. For those, again, that 1% of you, Victor, right? Joe's back. I know you were entertained last week with the solo pod. So yeah, we got Joe's, he's a brand new dad. And we're going to, obviously when you all see Joe in class, congratulate him. Tip of the week, okay? And, most parents would know, but when you see Coach Joe, just be like, Joe, congrats, happy for you, love you, proud of you. I would recommend not saying, Joe, how are you sleeping? Joe, how are you sleeping, man?
Yeah, right. Yeah, not much, but I have a newfound gratitude for sleep that we can express later on.
Yeah, guys, look, it's a newborn. Ain't nobody sleeping, all right? So that's not a question I'd recommend, but we all know it's all out of love from all of you, and we love you guys. So we're back at it. So let's take our 3 breaths. We're going to talk about the Open, and hopefully we're all getting ready to sign up, okay? So just take a moment, sit up tall, find your space, less doing, more being. We'll just take that first deep inhale through the nose. Slow exhale to the mouth. Inhale through the nose. Exhale. Last breath. Hold it. 5, 4, 3, 2, and exhale. All right. We are organized. All right. Master Joda. Oh.
Yeah, we have a brief Yoda quote. I can't do a Yoda voice, but so it's Yoda says, "Do or do not, there is no try." So if you remember, he says this to Luke when he's training him to become a Jedi, and Luke is super frustrated because his X-Wing is stuck in the swamp.
Yep.
And Yoda's like, all right, well, use the Force to lift the X-Wing out of the swamp. And Luke's like kind of feeling sorry for himself. He's got a poo-poo mood. He's like, all right, I'll try. And Yoda's like, dude, like, you either do it or you don't. Like, there's no trying. It's like, you either commit or not. So I think this brief quote just kind of sticks a lot with, what we talk about and where we are is just like taking action. Like, and it doesn't mean you're going to succeed, but it's like, are you going to do this or are you not going to do this? Like, are you going to take action or are you going to not? There is no, like, trying. There is no half effort. It's like, you either do it or you don't. And I don't know. I'm in a Star Wars mood, and I recently watched the movie one of my sleepless nights. So
Joe, yes. I think what Joe is trying to say is to sign up for the Open.
Exactly. Sign up for the Open. Sign up for the Open.
That's my best Yoda voice. Can't go wrong with a Star Wars quote, man. You can't go wrong with the Yoda wisdom quote for sure, man. So that definitely applies to what we're going to talk about. Really just, we know all of you are pretty much going to sign up, but don't delay, right? Just take that action, sign up. We're doing our own intramural this week. Obviously, the past few weeks we've talked about it. So if you're not familiar by now, just go back to your emails, go back to previous episodes, ask us in class, look at the registration here on the doors and the whiteboard here for the QR code and all that stuff. So let's talk about some Open history here, because really the idea is, even if you've been doing the Open for, a long time, I think most people here have only been up to maybe at most 6-7 years for some of you. The Open goes all the way back to 2011. So what's that?
14 years?
14 years, yeah. So this is the 14th year, or maybe the 15th year starting. I've done it for 13 years, so this will be the start of year 15. So I'm close to the original starting point of the Open, but the idea really is just to talk about, why the Open even came to be about, to give you guys a little bit more knowledge and history and more understanding of, how it's evolved to where it is today, and why we use the Open here as a community to, just come together, have fun, be fit, and obviously get an assessment. Joe, when was your first Open?
My first Open was 2016.
Okay,
2016, yeah. and I'm trying to remember what those workouts were.
I can tell you.
Yeah, you could probably remember better than me. If you tell me, I'll remember them. But it was 2016.
We'll do maybe a quizzo. I wrote here, we'll do a quizzo at the end. I like to think of myself as like a open bot where, you know, if he says like open workout 17.3, I'll go beep, boop, beep, boop, beep, and I'll be able to remember it, I think, for the most part. So
Those were the good old days, man, when it was 5 weeks.
yeah, we'll talk about that
yeah.
for sure. Yeah, the open has definitely a long history, even though 15 years for a lot of things may not be a lot of time. For the CrossFit world, it's definitely been quite a journey. So let's talk about the whole purpose of how the Open came to be. So when we do it here, you know, we promote this more as a community in-house event. The original purpose of the Open was to create a competitive stepping stone to find literally the fittest individuals on the planet, hence the CrossFit Games. The CrossFit Games goes all the way back to 2006. But as the CrossFit Games evolved, 2006, 7, 8, 9, 10, there were processes, I guess what would you call them? You know, they were called sanctionals, regionals, but I don't know what you would technically call that system, tiers.
Yeah,
right?
like advanced qualifiers.
Yeah, qualifiers,
kinda,
exactly. Yeah, there would be qualifiers to actually get to the CrossFit Games. And if we even go back to like how the CrossFit Games started, they had CrossFit.com, and it was just like an open invite to the whole world to say, if you want to claim yourself to be the fittest individual in the world through our methodology in CrossFit, like we invite you guys to come to Aromas, California to do this CrossFit Games back in 2006. And because that grew over those 4 years worldwide, again, it's not just, you know, the US, you know, it became everywhere. It obviously became very popular. And so they need to have more, again, qualification processes to get there. Hence the Open in 2011, which basically became an online competition. And that was its sole purpose. It really wasn't about necessarily like the affiliate, even though during these times, like the affiliates were growing, particularly like from 2010 or 2009 from like 2014, like affiliates were on
they were exploding.
Yeah, it was exploding. But the Open, again, was primarily for competitive purposes. So it'd be the Open, then there would be regionals, and there would be the games. And again, what the Open did is it just made it more accessible for everybody worldwide to do these, at the time, 5 workouts, 1 workout a week, so over 5 weeks, to have a well-balanced CrossFit test. So using CrossFit workouts, CrossFit methodology to get people into that next system of qualifier, which was regionals, and then would be the games. And it worked. I mean, we'll talk about, you know, some of the ups and downs of that, but it really was a cool thing to see. Again, I started in 2000, my first Open was 2013. But at that, I mean, I was so into CrossFit and my history, my knowledge of learning about how that process began, even before I started that Open, I was just kind of fascinated by the whole idea of like a worldwide online competition. Like that, it really wasn't ever a thing, ever, in any fitness method, brand, whatever you call it. So.
Yeah. I mean, it was the first thing I ever did that was like a worldwide standardized system.
Yeah.
Like back in 2016, it was definitely like my worst finish ever, but I had the most gear ever. Like all the wrist wraps, all the lifters. Like I had so much swag for my first Open, but it is really cool. And I think even like the first time I did it, like what stood out to me was just like the energy within the community was always super cool. I mean, I was at my affiliate when I was in college at the time, but it was just like such an awesome experience to like, you know, get a little extra push and also like, you know, challenge me in a different way, you know, challenge myself in a different way that I don't get through traditional programming. Because like you shouldn't be in competition mode all the time, but it's good to like tap into that every so often. You know, it's good to tap into that competitive spirit. So I can't remember I can remember specific workouts, but I'm not like you where I can look back like 2016 won. But you know, what I do know about every workout is like they all challenge you in a unique way. I think that, you know, the one challenge with workouts is just finding a way to standardize things. Like they get a little repetitive because, you know, you can't have people running because a 400-meter run looks way different for us than another gym because of like grade and like elevation. You know, it's hard. There's certain movements that are hard to standardize. So you see a lot of these repeat movements that are easy to judge, easy to test. Like, you know, on the rower, you know, we all the same concept 2 rower, or, you know, some kind of Olympic lift. Like, it's all the same standard movement. But that's, I think, a challenge, is that like it's hard to standardize the full scope of fitness, especially because we do so much here. You know?
Yeah, and we'll definitely get into some of those like pros and cons of how that open developed, especially when it comes to movements. So if we talk about, you know, when the open was created, you know, you have to create workouts. And to give you a little insight of what the CrossFit methodology is, you know, they use constantly varied functional movements performed at high intensity, which that's essentially the method, kind of very general. So when we talk about exercises and movement patterns that are standardized across it, we have movement patterns of squatting, you know, Olympic lifting, hinging, box jump, you know, pull up, jump rope, toes to bar, you know, all things that are fairly basic in terms of planes of motion. And again, like you're saying, Joe, like, you know, if I'm a judge, they had to be standardized. So that was really kind of the cool part of when the open was coming about, was that you needed a judge, you needed someone to count your reps, to validate your reps, and then you had to submit a score. And so even if I'm not someone going to the CrossFit Games, it kind of made it fun for the whole CrossFit community worldwide to like think about the idea of doing these same workouts, maybe as these elite individuals, and, you know, put up a score. And at the time as well, there wasn't technically a full-on scaling progression as well. It was just like, this is the workout. So the workouts were somewhat accessible to most of the CrossFit population at the time. So for example, the very first CrossFit Open workout, 11.1, was a 10-minute AMRAP jump rope, so 30 double unders and 15 power snatches with a 75 or 45-pound barbell. So that was also repeated in 2014. It was 14.1. So these are also workouts that are repeatable. So for people that do the open over the years, they can see their progress. Just a heads up for you guys, there's going to be a repeat workout this year that was kind of hinted and announced that for some of you have done the open in the past. So workouts can be repeated. Again, you got a jump rope and a power snatch, very simple movements. The second workout in that open that year was, we actually played around with it here. It was deadlift, box jump, push up. They did a 5-minute, so like, you know, they have the different time frames, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 5 minutes. These are these main CrossFit time domains. It was like squat, clean, thrusters. And then a typical combining of movements is thrusters and pull-ups. So squat and no press, and then hanging on the bar. Yeah, and then in the early years, like after that, 2012, like the first workout was 7 minutes of burpees.
Yeah.
They have, you know, different workouts like a chipper, where it was, you do 150 wall balls, then you do 90 double unders, then you do 30 muscle ups. And like they had workouts where like the hardest skill at the time was like a muscle up, or something that most of the half the population can't do, but you can still earn your way, like wall balls and jump rope, you know, to get there. So like everybody can still participate by doing wall balls. And then if you get to the muscle ups in that 14-minute clock or whatever that was there, then, you know, that's where the elite get to move on. Like that's how they kind of separated the general population, which is majority of people participating, from the regionals to the games athletes. So when it comes to designing these workouts, they usually work in these time frames as little as 7 minutes to as high as 20 minutes. So it's not like a full-on endurance, like, but these are our typical CrossFit time frames. We have our general CrossFit movements that we typically see. You're going to see some form of squat pattern, right? Maybe if it's a wall ball, a thruster. If you see some sort of hanging pattern, which is like a toes to bar, pull up, you're definitely going to see a jump rope. Jump rope is the one exercise. I think there's two that have been in every single open. You know, we'll see eventually they introduced like the rowing ergonometer, and then they introduced like eventually things like getting upside down, like a handstand or a wall walk. They introduced, you know, some harder things like traversing whether if it's like 25-foot increments of lunges, or eventually, like you said, it became shuttle runs. You know, and then there's things that, in terms of the style of the workout, like it's an AMRAP back and forth, or the one year, like 2 years ago, we did a repeat of a chipper in 2014 where you chip away at movements. You have maybe ladders. That's the typical one where it goes like 3, 6, 9, 12, and you just keep ascending in that ladder as far as possible. So these are ways, again, that we get the variance of testing. And like Joe said, like, you know, the idea of developing these workouts and designing these is one, through the CrossFit methodology, but also has a balance, because that's really the idea of CrossFit and fitness. Like, we want to balance our energy systems. Like, we need to test high power output 7 minutes, and we need to test the more capacity-based, power-based, long-term power-based with like 20 minutes. We need to be able to test low skills, and we got to be able to test high skills. That's really how it becomes the fittest on earth, and that's how CrossFit really made its name through, you know, the CrossFit Games, was because it was a true test of variance in fitness, and it wasn't just one-dimensional. It was a very multi-dimensional approach.
Yeah, and I think over the years, and you could, you know, I'm sure could attest to this, the workouts have become not easier, but just more accessible. You know, I remember even when I first started doing the Open 2016, 2017, like it might have been because I was still like in my beginning days of CrossFit, but there was a lot more like higher skill early on. Like now the workouts are tough, but it's most people who have a, you know, a pretty standard level of fitness could at least do them. And I think that's a good thing. And I think you still could test like elite fitness with accessible workouts, like, because there is a way of doing that. And I think that, you know, if like you look at from last year, like I think the only complex movement they had was bar muscle ups. Everything else, and that was at the end of the workout too. So they definitely have made the workouts more accessible, because I think that one complaint some people would have is the scaling options were limited. You know, like, you know, here, obviously, you know, you do a workout, you could do everything RX but double unders, but you could still challenge yourself. But some people have been frustrated, like, oh man, like, I can't do double unders, so I don't want to do like empty barbell thruster. I want to like challenge myself in other ways. And that has been a complaint with the Open for those who have had to scale specific movements, particularly complex movements, like, you know, gymnastics, some people jump rope, you know, but now it's gotten to a point where most people can, you know, the workouts are doable in some level. And I think that's a good thing, because I understand frustrations of like, you know, you're great at everything else, but you're still learning double unders, and you want to push yourself, but you know, you don't want to. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. Well, that's kind of where it had to evolve.
Yeah,
it had to evolve. Like, and I call these the prime years of the Open. So we have 2011 to 2015, where, again, it was kind of purely about competition for the most part. I mean, the community and affiliates started making a whole event out of it. You know, Friday Night Lights, community events, you know, challenging with other gyms. They have the worldwide leaderboard. And so the first challenge was, like you're saying, was the idea of scaling. Because originally, like, there wasn't different variations of the workout. It would just be a more approachable way of doing RX. Like I said, you know, like the first workout's jump rope and power snatches. So like, you're either figuring out how to do double unders, and you might get like 2 rounds in 10 minutes versus the elite who get 10 rounds in 10 minutes. Or, you know, I'd be able to at least get wall balls or finish some wall balls to a standard of height, or maybe get like 1 rep of the complex, or get a few thrusters and get your first pull up. And then so they had to eventually start making it more accessible, because more people wanted to get involved. We have the idea, another concept that was very challenging in the early years that really didn't apply to the affiliate, but it was standardizing competition. Because the way that the elite, if they're going to like regionals or the games or whatever, is you had to like submit a video in addition to being judged. So like, you know, you have a judge, you know, whoever's in your affiliate or whoever, like they have to go through a judge's test, but it was still extremely sketchy. I mean, like, just think about it like this. It's a worldwide submission online. A lot of individuals would put false scores, put false videos, edited videos, judging standards, and they didn't like go through and judge everyone's video. And like this became a whole thing over the next, 8 years of submitting videos, competition standards within at least the competitive side of the individuals who were trying to qualify. So that became a whole thing. And then it just kind of evolved to be, I think in a lot of different affiliates and levels to be like overly competitive to where some of the spirit of CrossFit and the affiliate level reason why we're doing it, which has evolved to where it is now. And, over those prime years, they started to shift the focus into like more accessible variations, more ways of getting the affiliates involved, doing more events. So I would say in the years after 2015, especially as the games were just like blowing up, becoming a big thing, affiliates were blowing up, becoming a big thing. I say these transition years from 2016 to 2020 were really good years for the Open as it was continuing to develop. And, they were introducing new movements, new skills, things were challenging. Like some of those early years, like in 2016, that first workout you did, it was a 20-minute AMRAP. So they started off with a long workout, which...
Was that the overhead lunge?
Overhead lunge.
That's right.
Yeah, exactly.
That was hard, man,
And like typically in those years past, like 2015, 14, they were, 2014 was a doozy. 2013 was a doozy of a workout. It was a 17-minute workout. We kind of did something like it here where it was 40 burpees, 30 snatches, 30 burpees, 30 snatches. And that was a repeat actually in 2014 too. But like all these workouts were kind of retested, but 2016 started off with the first time they introduced space with walking lunges, overhead lunges. Overhead lunges, burpee over bar, overhead lunges, pull-ups? Chest to bar pull-ups. And it was short reps, 8 pull-ups, 8 burpees every time, and that AMRAP. And that was a doozy, but some of the challenges they started to run into after that was, even though they were trying to make it accessible in the affiliate level, they were also taking away from that by the way they created format of the workouts. Like
space.
Like imagine we could not do that here. No. We had 25-foot barbell overhead lunges. We could only fit maybe 2 people here. So it would be heats of 2 if we wanted to have a class and do it.
Exactly.
Or we would have to make our own variation of like just overhead lunges in place. But like some of those things happened. And 2016 actually was a great year of workouts. Like they introduced the first time a bar muscle up. It was the 3rd workout of that week where it was just a short AMRAP of, I believe, 7 minutes, 3 bar muscle ups, 10 power snatches. So super grippy. So for those who are like, Marco loves grip stuff, the Open kind of gave me PTSD, or just CrossFit in general. Like there was always a year where there was like something super grippy that was really challenging. And again, that year was just a brutal at the finisher. Usually they finish with something really difficult. It was like, it was thrusters and burpees over bar. So they did like burpees twice that year, which was like an anomaly. But again, they had 5 weeks. So eventually, to where we talk about these evolution years, like they started making like, all right, 5 weeks is way too many. Now we're going to make it to 3 weeks. Like if you're the fittest on earth, you're already that fit to begin with because CrossFit has already been around for so long. The people who have been doing the CrossFit Games have become so fit. Like you don't need that many tests. You're either fit or you're not. You're either at that level. And you can make yourself at that level even with the basic stuff. Some of the issues, again, before I pass it to Joe, is like, from a competitor standpoint, was that some of these workouts were not testing too high of a skill for the elite. And you'd have a workout where it's just like dumbbell snatches and burpee box jumps. And I could be just purely an engine person, but have no strength, no skill, and just like crush that workout and be at the top of the leaderboard. But the idea is with the Open, whether if you're now or it's evolved to or in the past, it's all about creating a balanced test of fitness. So no matter if you're the fittest or affiliate level person participating, the tests are you want to have middle ground. It's not about being the best at everything. You want to be able to have some capacity to perform in a middle ground of all of these workouts.
Yeah, and every year since I've been doing it, I do feel like they've done a good job of truly testing like fitness at a holistic level. Like even from when it was 5 weeks or now that it's only 3 weeks long, every year I feel like, you know, the way it was structured really does appropriately measure that. And like obviously, you know, there are certain things they throw in there, people get frustrated, like, why are you doing this? Like, this is stupid. Like, but I think that's a good thing to like throw in new movements. You know, people, you know how people in CrossFit are, like they throw in a new movement. They haven't thrown in crossovers yet, but they've thrown that at higher level. But like things like that, like, but the idea is to always be challenging yourself in new ways. And that's something that like we're pretty equipped to handle here because we do a lot of non-traditional stuff. But, you know, whether it's 3 weeks, whether it's 5 weeks, I can't say there was a single year where I was like, that programming didn't test fitness at the full level. Like, I think they've always done a good job with that, and that's something I give CrossFit credit for.
Yeah, and they had like, you know, everyone who's been here in the years of like 2019, 2020, when, you know, the 2020 and COVID happened and they had to adjust. They had like, we had the 2 opens that one year.
Oh, that's
because
right.
So we had the 2019 open,
the fall,
which was in March.
The spring?
Yeah.
I forget.
No, we had 2019 open. It was in March.
Yes.
And then they started making changes. And then we had the open again in October. And then we had like the year off of the open. And it was just like kind of a hot mess. But even those workouts were like great workouts. And we still had fun with it. We did our own MFP version actually that one year of the open. And I always, when we first started doing the open, when I opened the gym here, like I made the open a thing right away. Like we were having Friday night lights early in 2018. We were doing the open. 2019, we were doing that open. And so it was just always trying to be clever with like how we presented it here and trying to, again, make it mostly community-based focused work. Even though in those years, like when I was first here and even up to 2022, like I was competing myself and using the open as a tool for my own personal growth competitively, but I still was trying to, you know, balance that with the affiliate level to where it comes to now for us, where it's really just a way for us to, again, come together. And then, you know, you even pointed out like, you know, and people will still see this. Like last year, you know, people are going to look at like, oh, I can't do a bar muscle up or whatever. But like you have to even get there.
Yeah.
You know, the workouts are well strategized to where like you're gonna see at something maybe at this point, you're like, oh, I can't do it. Or if it was like the 20-minute AMRAP last year with a deadlift, rowing, double unders, you know, maybe you can do 50 double unders, but it's gonna take you a while and you only get a few rounds versus scaled, or you can do a handful of rounds. Like you can make that decision.
Yeah.
You have to do one or the other. But that also gives you perspective of like, you know, continue to work hard at that movement you want to get better at. Or in the past where, you know, something like a handstand push-up was announced. That was the first year they did that was 2015. That was the first year they put a handstand push-up in a workout through, it was like power cleans and handstand push-ups. It was like an 8-minute AMRAP. It was an ascending ladder, 3, 6, 9, 12 power cleans and handstand push-ups. And, you know, like, yeah, people couldn't do that, but they had the scaling version kind of, you know, different ways they would incorporate like ring muscle ups. You know, that would usually like be at the end of the workout. Heavy weights, like people would get super frustrated with like heavy weights that were being introduced. Like if it was like snatches, like squat snatches, like, yeah, people were gonna have trouble with that. You know, like there was a lot of complaints. Or if there was, like the 2017 was the year of the dumbbells, where like they just were announcing, like the first workout was, oh, this was actually one of probably the hardest workouts.
Dumbbell snatches and box jump overs.
Yeah, burpee box jump over. And they repeated that in 2021 or 2019. No, 2021 or 2019. 2021. And we did that here at the gym, and So some of you guys got a little taste of that suffering. That was probably one of the hardest workouts in the open I've ever done. It was 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 dumbbell snatch.
20.
In between each set, you did how many burpee box jump overs?
15?
15, yeah.
Yeah, my Quizzo's doing pretty good.
Yeah, good. And then it was a 20-minute cap.
Yep.
So usually every workout in the past, they would be like AMRAPs, or you have like a set clock. And then the one year, it was like, everybody has to finish. It was the burpee, it was thrusters and burpee over bar. It was 21, 18, 15, 12, 9, 6, 3, thrusters and burpee over bar. And there was no time cap the one year when they first announced that. And so like, it was just like a death ladder. Like people just go until they whatever the fuck they finish. And then they repeated that workout 2 years after, or the year after, and they put a 20-minute time cap. So like now time caps are there. Like there was just so many trial and errors, and it was fun though. I think as an affiliate owner or someone looking back, and there was a lot of times where like people who were overly competitive or wanted to get a spot to go to regionals were, fussy because, they were challenged in this movement or that movement. But long story short, the whole idea is like where we are now. And the way we are now in the open is completely different. It's than what it was in terms of its purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, yes, it's still a qualifier for athletes to go to the games, but I would say that's secondary to creating a worldwide online community-based fitness competition, which is really the purpose of it now. And because it's so much more dense in population and levels, there's obviously way more scalings. Like they have, RX scale, they even have adaptive division workouts and all that are now accessible for standardizing and judging. They have obviously the 3-week format, and then the workouts themselves are more accessible. So last year we did dumbbell snatch, burpee over bar, deadlift, jump rope, rowing, thrusters, pull-ups, progression to, if you get that far, bar muscle up, heavy thrusters. And so in the first year they did the 3 weeks, we did the introduction of like a wall walk. Yeah. Like that was the new skill that they introduced. So there's always something new. There's always usually a repeat. That the idea is like to have a test and retest. Like we want to be able to see how far you've come. So like if you do a workout and you repeat it, maybe you're either doing it from scale to RX, or maybe you're doing the same variation and doing more reps, more rounds in a new way that shows that you've improved. So that's really the whole idea of the Open, is to give you that assessment.
Yeah, and it is fun, like when you do it for many years in a row. Like this, I've been doing it since 2016. I remember like there are some open workouts for me when I was in my early CrossFit days that were like, I was so frustrated with because I just couldn't do the skills. Like I think it was 2017, the barbell thrusters and dubs workout, 9 rounds.
Oh God, yeah.
So
that was painful.
When it was 9 rounds of 35 dubs, 9 thrusters, something like that. Yeah, my Quizzo was great.
Yeah, 10 rounds. It was 10 rounds.
But anyway, like when
that was for time. Yeah.
When I first started doing CrossFit, and there was a long time cap, I remember.
Yeah, they gave 20 minutes.
It was a long cap. I was terrible at dubs. I was like so inefficient, and that was like pure pain for me.
Yeah.
And then like a couple years later, I did the workout again, and I'm like breathing on my dubs. I'm like, this is awesome. Like you could see like how far you've come, and now
that's awesome.
I love that workout because like dubs and thrusters are things that I'm pretty confident in. So it's cool to see, like looking back, like, oh man, when I did this 5 years ago, this crushed me, and now I'm like a whole different person. I'm a whole different level of doing it. So that's why it's good to do it every year and like see these repeats. And if you're frustrated by a workout, like just be open that like, hey, when I do this in 3 years, I'm going to be different.
Yep, 100%, dude. That's such a good example. And yeah, and like imagine that, like, so like someone like Joe that year, they had a 20-minute cap. It might have took you like,
It took me about 20 minutes.
20 minutes?
Yeah,
15.
my dubs were terrible.
Yeah, and like it was good. They had caps, so like even if you're someone who's just learning dubs, like you do it RX and see where you can get. Where like you have the elite, they do that workout in 6 to 7 minutes.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? It's just nuts to see that. But it's the idea that you get to participate in that. Yeah. And you have little things like now where they've evolved. Like that would be a great workout right now because of the affiliate level. So they think about affiliates now where like, they're not going to do overhead walking lunges in space, right? It's going to be a barbell jump rope in a small set of space. That way we can have events like Friday Night Lights. Now they're acknowledging that community events are happening in the affiliate level so everybody can partake, that make, space a little bit more efficient. Like the shuttle runs, it was cool, a few years ago for you guys, but it was a headache. Like we had to have, the outside heats. Like we made a whole thing of it. Don't get us wrong. Like, but for me as an affiliate owner, trying to create an event and an experience for you guys was like way too much of a headache. Like I had to do so much work to like set up the outside, think outside of the box, be here the night before to like set the lanes and all that. Yeah, and so but like I look back at it, I love doing that stuff for you guys. I love making the events. I love making it fun. Especially as we start building up to, this year, start developing that mindset of getting excited. You don't have to go all out now. Like when the week comes, we'll really start ramping things up. But we want you guys to be in the mindset to participate, to make the most out of the experience. Yes, we'll have our intramural changes this year with like signing up for MFP versus the games website, but we're still going to do the same workouts, still going to have a judge, still going to go through our own scoring processes with, how we log in our results to Wodify, how we create our leaderboard. And we're just excited to see what the tests are. I'm curious to see what workout's going to repeat. Personally, I think, which we're going to test this workout next week, we're going to do a repeat of the 22.2 workout. So, you remember that? What that is, Joe? We did that 3 years ago. Right.
No. I don't know why I remember the older ones better. Yeah. But the older ones I remember better.
So we did a 1 to 10 to 1 ladder. You had a 10-minute AMRAP, deadlift, burpee over bar.
Oh, yeah.
So, and that's simple, like in space, but, challenging.
That's a good one.
You got a 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 3, 4. So if you got all the way to 10, this is actually a new thing they showed, was that you go back down, 9, 9, 8, 8, 7, 7, 6, 6, 5, 5, or you get capped at 10 minutes, wherever you get to. So that was really interesting to see. Like that was a new scheme of the ladder going up, a pyramid ladder, and then going back down. So yeah, I mean, I think it's just different to see different workout skills and new ways of presenting. Like last year's thrusters, pull-ups, like that was something new. It was always, 2159 or, rounds of thrusters, pull-ups, but we never did like 5 rounds, rest, 5 rounds again. Like integrating rest in an open workout was like in 2019, the first time when they did that, when it was burpee over bar, snatches, rest, and then burpee over bar or snatches, burpee over bar and bar muscle up. So we did all these different workouts, integrating new things. Like it's been fun to see how that's evolved. So Joe, I don't know if you want to give me a quizzo as we finish up. I wrote we were going to go quizzo here just because I want to test my own knowledge of remembering which workouts are what from what years.
Yeah, I'll give you quizzo. Let's go 19.1. I don't remember that one. 19.1.
Ooh, 19.1. It was. You might have stumped me right away.
19 is a blur to
me. No,
me.
19.1 was the repeat of the dumbbell snatch and burpee box jump.
Box jump over. Okay.
Yeah, that was repeat. I was thinking 2020, but we did not do that for 2020. 2020 we did the ground to overhead and burpee over bar.
That's right.
2020 that year we did it in the fall. It was 10 rounds, 8 ground to overhead, 10 burpee over bar. So 19 we did the repeat, because we did that in 2017 with the dumbbell.
So I actually have a question for you. I'm going to ask you, and it's not a quizzo question. I'm going to ask you live on the air. Obviously, we're doing our intramural open here. Are you, Marco Stabke, personally going to sign up for the open with HQ as well this year?
For me, that's a good question. Honestly, I'm not, because I would rather do the same thing that my community's doing. I'd rather save $20 in my pocket, to be honest. Although, here's my main reason, honestly, why, is this is just my personal relationship from doing it for so long, since 2012. or 2013 basically. And my initial reason for doing the Open was not for the affiliate level, even though at my gym, CrossFit Westchester at the time, we were doing like, Saturday showdowns and some Friday nights. And really the only purpose I was doing it though was to qualify for us competitively as a team to go compete at regionals, or for my own personal self to compete. But that really put me down, although it brought me so many opportunities of growth, it put me down a really poor mental state and down this rabbit hole of like comparison and leaderboarding. Like you would put it on your leaderboard, you'd have your region, like Mid-Atlantic region, all that stuff, and the worldwide, and just comparing. It would put me down because I wasn't able to, at that time, look at the greater perspective of like why I was doing it, my progress, because like I was always at the cusp of like qualifying for regionals or next level, and I was like never really making it until 2017. And so like it was just so much comparison. And like now, like in the past years, like I would submit, I really wouldn't care, I wouldn't look, but still like for me, I'd rather just not submit. It's not that big of a deal to me anymore. Am I going to push myself when we do the open workouts? Yeah, like I'm going to go dark, I'm going to work hard. I know at this point now, like where my progress is. Like I know I'm not going to be games level. I don't really want to be. I don't really want to be able to do anything or necessarily have to be the best in the gym here, but I want to be able to perform and complete these workouts. And that's really my main purpose. And I don't want to sign up or have, comparison, because I still know hundreds of people who still do it and that I know and I'm familiar, and I might compare and I might like put myself in that loop. And I don't need to do that. And I can still sign up and put my scores in and be totally fine, everybody. Like that's not really the bigger thing for me. But I definitely want to just give it a break, because I don't think it's for me that big of a deal at this moment. And my main priority as an affiliate owner is to create more of an experience here for our own community. So how about you?
I'm in a similar boat, but right now I actually I don't know. Like okay. I'm in the same situation where like what matters to me is like our community here, MFP, and like the experience we create here. But there's this part of me that like it's hard to let go, because I've been doing it for so long, and it's just become such a thing. And like I've never been a high level athlete where like I could compete, but I always enjoyed seeing myself like make progressions in that leaderboard. Like, man, it's a great feeling to get to 15,000 or whatever. But it's cool to see, and it's like I know I don't need that, but I've enjoyed that part of CrossFit, just seeing like my growth, or if there was a year where I was struggling a little bit, seeing where I like took a step back and like, seeing that as another opportunity. So I'm undecided. I also don't really want to, give HQ $20, but I really don't know yet. I don't prioritize it, but I'm having a hard time with just like letting go of that almost just personal tradition I've had, because I have really enjoyed it. Like I've really enjoyed it. And I know I could just, take a year off. It's not like it's forever. But it's a weird feeling not doing what you've been doing for a long time.
I mean, you get the badge. You get the badge.
The badge
they send you the badge like, oh, you've been doing this
8 years.
8 years in a row. 12
my badge is messed up though, because I changed my email, so now it looks like I only have it like 4 years in a row, which is totally
you get the badge, you get these cool things, and like, it serves my ego to like see if I'm like top 10 in PA or something like that. You get these really cool leaderboards. But I think for me, it's just something like I'm okay with letting it go. And I think that's just like when it comes to this just show up mantra, and this more on a holistic, like, I can let that go in a way that allows me to continue to move forward with greater purpose in what I do here. Not saying that there's anything wrong if you sign up for HQ, whatever. Like I know people have their own maybe personal reasons because of what happened at the games last year. But, for me, it's not that deep. I think there's been so many good things that have happened through the CrossFit brand and methodology and what they're trying to do and how they're incorporating and developing the Open for affiliates worldwide. And I think it just comes to, just working with a different perspective. And, for me right now, maybe I might change like you. I guess I could be up
I'm 50-50. So I don't have an answer yet.
Yeah. I just want to have fun. I want to do the workouts, enjoy it, not worry about competing. I'm only competing with myself. So, but yeah, that's pretty much all I got here, y'all. I think that's really how we'll take it for today for the Open and just continue to talk about that through next classes and next weeks. But next week we got a guest, so stay tuned. It's going to be a good one. And yeah, Joe, anything? Good?
That's it. Sign up. If you're a free agent, then who knows what team you'll be on.
All right, awesome.
Yeah,
All right. Joe's got to go feed some babies
Gotta
here,
go feed
all right?
babies.
All right, well, I love you guys, all right? Great work. We'll see you in class. Keep with a good mindset for the Open this year, all right? We're going to have a lot of fun, all right?
Peace.
Peace.